Donald Trump is threatening to pull out of the global trade regulator, also known as the World Trade Organization. Now, this was initially reported by Axios, which received a draft of legislation that will essentially allow Donald Trump to act unilaterally when it comes to trade decisions, which could be disastrous. So the bill, titled the United States Fair and Reciprocal Tariff Act, would give Trump unilateral power to ignore the two most basic principles of the World Trade Organization. So there's the most favored nation principle, that countries can't set different tariff rates for different countries outside of free trade agreements. And also there's the bound tariff rates. This is, in my opinion, the most relevant part, right? The tariff ceilings that each World Trade Organization country has already agreed to in previous negotiations. So this fits the pattern that we've seen with Trump when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to any deal, any negotiation that was previously agreed upon. He will just pull out unilaterally. It happened with the Iran nuclear deal, which many argue actually creates an unsafe situation and encourages Iran to continue on with nuclear development. He did it with the Paris Climate Agreement, which further devastates the environment and the US's role in devastating the environment. I mean, he keeps doing these types of things left and right. And so not only will it have negative ramifications for our country economically, it will solidify unilateral power for Trump, and it'll also signal to other countries that we're not to be trusted, because the president will pull out anytime that he feels necessary.
Unless it's porn star. Anyway, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin strongly denied that the president was considering pulling out of WTO. Why would you do that? You know he can't contain himself. You know internally he's talking about it, and you know that he's going to blurt it out. But Mnuchin's a former Goldman Sachs guy, and he doesn't want this. He wants things to go along smoothly, right? And everybody keep making money. And by the way, it's also, he happens to be right in this case, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's like, no, please, Mr. President, Mr. President. And then Trump comes out after his Treasury Secretary denies he's going to do this. WTO has treated the United States very badly, and I hope they change their ways. They've been treating us very badly for many, many years. And that's why we're at a big disadvantage with the WTO. Of course he's gonna say that. Of course you can't contain him. So now, if somebody wanted our president to destroy us from within, what would they have him do? They would have him shred almost every alliance we have.
And that's exactly what he's doing. Look, I am inclined to believe that this makes certain world leaders very happy. But regardless of that, just set that aside. What Trump is doing, regardless of what his intentions are, is destroying everything in the country, including the economy. I mean, the markets have been incredibly turbulent because of this, trade war that we're now engaged in. And it's interesting because the one claim to fame or success that Trump has when it comes to, governing, I guess, is the economy's doing really well. I mean, I talk about how the economy actually isn't doing that well if you look at wages and all that. But regardless, a lot of people think, no, the unemployment rate is low, economy's doing really well. So in a lot of ways, he's kind of self-sabotaging when it comes to these ridiculous tariffs and this trade war that he keeps pushing for.
Yeah, but he's not bright enough to recognize it. And so the market keeps going up and down, and they're high on the tax cuts,
right?
And they keep buying back their own stock and purposely inflating their stock prices. That's a disaster in the making. And when it finally pops and it doesn't go up and down, it just starts going down and down. There's no way that Trump couldn't manage a small family business. He's totally incapable of managing the U.S. economy. Doesn't understand simple concepts. Guys like Mnuchin, who are not good guys, but at least understand how the world works, are trying to explain it to him, and he's like, I don't get it, they're treating us very badly, right? Whether he's working for the Russians or he's an idiot, it doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. What's gonna happen is, one time they're gonna go down and they're not gonna come back up, right?
Right.
And then all those overinflated stock prices are gonna crash, and we're gonna have a debacle on our hands. But even now, at his so-called height, when you've got all the right-wingers on social media going, oh, the economy's doing great, oh, the economy's doing great. wages are not keeping up with inflation. So what did you get out of that stock market? What did you get out of that economy, right? So the executives got a lot. I was telling you this all the time because it's important for you to know. Top 1% on average got a $61,000 tax break every single year. Okay, but you have lower wages when adjusted for inflation than you did when Trump came into office. You like that economy? I don't like that economy.
Yeah, and some on the right will say, well, stock market's doing well. I mean, it was doing well, and as we mentioned, it is turbulent right now. And so my 401k is doing okay, my pension's doing okay. But when that comes crashing down, what is Trump gonna do? And he's the kind of person who just doubles down. He'll take a problem and he'll make it worse. Now, Republicans realize that this is going to be a disaster, and so they're thinking about possible actions to mitigate the potential trade war or the economic ramifications, and they're doing so quietly, which shows you how incredibly scared and weak they are. And look, to be fair, some politicians have paid the consequences for speaking out against Trump. So that's probably why they're trying to be quiet about it. But according to reports, several Republican senators are mulling whether they should change the definition of national security to cramp Donald Trump's habit of imposing trade tariffs on the US. So the reason why he was able to unilaterally increase or tack on tariffs for steel and aluminum is because he said that it was a national security concern. Of course, it's not a national security concern, but that is what the president can cite if he wants to do this without Congress getting involved. And so now Congress is thinking, senators specifically are thinking, we don't like this. So maybe we need to do something regarding that executive power to kind of mitigate or hinder what he's attempting to do.
Look, the donors are still in charge. And this is a rare case where the donors are right. So they're not right when it comes to some of the trade agreements like TPP, but when it comes to random trade wars, that doesn't help the economy, it doesn't help their businesses, it also doesn't help us, right? So the Republicans work for their donors. So those guys come out and go, hey, Orrin Hatch, go kill this thing. So Hatch, he might be doing it quietly, but he did say, quote, about the tariffs, I'd like to kill him, okay? Now, Orrin Hatch has spent most of the first term of Donald Trump between Donald Trump's buttocks, okay? And he has kissed his ass so many times, people lost count. But when the donors say, hey, Orrin, sick him, all of a sudden, I'd like to kill Trump's proposal.
I know. But by the way, Orrin Hatch has been the most vocal against these tariffs. But keep in mind that Orrin Hatch will not seek re-election. So he's not worried about political suicide like all these other right-wingers are.
Yeah, but but the right wing, no, let's be, look.
But of course he cares about the donors, there's no question about that.
Yeah, no, look, to be fair to the Republicans, they are on the right side of this. We should not do random tariffs that make no sense, that start trade wars, that hurt the economy, okay? But these Republicans never ever oppose Trump on anything because the donors actually love the tax cuts. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about immigrants. They don't care about the hatred that he's spewing. They just like, where's the money, Lebowski? And on the issue where it's gonna cost them money, they go, all of you Republicans go vote against Donald Trump. What happened? You guys, I thought you were loyal to Donald Trump. So on this issue, they all will vote against him because at the end of the day, they still work for the people who sign their checks. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.